Welcome back to another episode of We Are the Ones podcast. It's the podcast where we have extraordinary conversations with extraordinary people doing extraordinary things. Avi, what's up? How you feeling?
What's up, Jamil?
How you doing?
You know what? Today's a good day. I've been hearing a lot about like newness coming.
Oh yeah?
Yeah,
what?
it's like newness in the air. Just talking to people around me, it's like a transition of newness happening, and you got to get into the flow of it. I strongly believe that when it's like at least 3 people that's around you that's going through like the same seasons, you have to figure out if God is doing the same thing with you too. Because proximity means a lot.
Yeah, it's power in proximity.
You know, it is. So you gotta be like, okay, all right, hold on, something new could be happening with me too. Let me stand back and see what's going on. So yeah, it's a fresh wind going on.
You got anything you're expecting newness in your life?
I do.
Like what? What's up? That's what we're talking about it or not? We potted or we potted?
We're not talking about it. We're not going to talk about it. But yes, there's some newness going on with me too.
Do I know about this newness?
Yes.
Okay, I'm just making sure. I'm just trying to say, I don't know. It could be talking about a lot of things. I don't know.
Okay.
You know?
All right.
I mean,
Jamil.
Are we potting or are we potting?
I mean, but we could pot after the pot. That's what we can do. What about you, Jamil?
Nah, I love it, man.
Doing?
I'm good. You know, just having a day, you know.
How are you?
Yeah, I'm having a day today, but you know, it's Monday. You know what I mean? So it's Monday. I don't know what date is being released, but it's Monday, you know. But no, everything is good. Like, you know, I have no real complaints, you know, just gearing up for all of the things we got coming up over the next couple of months. It's a heavy few months, you know.
It's a heavy quarter coming up.
Yeah. Quarter, shit. I mean, we got a heavy month. You know, I don't know about a quarter, but yeah, we just got a lot of great things happening. And, you know, I've had different brands reach out to me just today alone, like looking to connect and do some work with us, you know. So it's about to be, the next couple of months about to be real active for us.
Okay.
So y'all know, just be ready. Because y'all is about to be put to work.
You know what? It's so interesting. So let me tell y'all something about Jamil. So Jamil would plan a meeting for us to actually speak on, you know, talk about one thing. As soon as we sit down, okay, so it's this other thing we're going to do too, right? Whoa, hold on. Everything ain't even finalized with the first one. Can we just get on this one? But Jamil, he just constantly keeps going.
Yeah, you know, we got a lot of great things that's happening, you know, and I'm really excited that we are in demand right now because we could be on the other end. We're not in demand, but it's just a really exciting time. It's a really exciting time for the business, and just looking forward just to continued growth and just this season of abundance for us, man.
But that has a lot to do with you, though, Jamil. You're really building a great legacy.
I'm trying.
You really are. You're doing a fabulous job.
I appreciate that.
So kudos to you.
No, I appreciate that. You know, it's a lot of hard work, but you know, I'm here for it. You know, but speaking of hard work, man. Let's get into it. I can't tell y'all. I say this every week that we got it. This is one of them ones, right? But y'all, let me look at the camera. This is one of those ones today, man. This is one. We got family. We got family in the building with us.
Yes, we do.
We got family. Oh my God, I'm so excited to sit down and have a conversation with her. Which is the crazy thing is, y'all are used to seeing her, and I'm on the other end of the boards doing the production on her podcast. You know, shout out to the Black Gems Dive In podcast with her and her co-host, Akua Menze-Du. But today we have, I feel like, you know, you talk about legacy and all of this. I think we have a legend in the making here. I really feel like we have a legend in the making.
Oh, that's a mantle?
Yeah, okay. Because I've had the opportunity to know our guests over almost 10 years now, probably a little more. Yeah, you know, so I got introduced to her through the Buffalo Urban League Young Professionals. She came to an event that we were throwing, and she kind of fell in love with it. And I recognized something in her back then I was just like, yo, she's one of them ones, man. She's one of those ones. And she came and I remember she sat with us. We interviewed her for e-board position, and I almost just like damn near on the spot. Just like, yeah, you got it. You know what I mean? But I just saw something special in her. And again, I just mentioned this to her a couple days ago. Not only, I always saw something special in her, but I think she just exceeded all expectations that I ever saw for her. You know what I mean? She's just a phenomenal talent. She's an expert in this DEI space.
Yes.
She's a Hall of Famer. Yo, we've never had a Hall of Famer on a podcast before.
Let's get it.
We've never had a Hall of Famer on the pod before.
First.
She's a legit Hall of Famer, basketball Hall of Fame, just all around athlete. She's an author.
Yeah,
my girl is a freaking author.
Congrats.
Like she's doing it all right now, and she's a free agent. Yeah, she's a free agent. She's out here in the market. She has a couple of different businesses. Her consulting practice. She has another business that we're going to talk about today, Out of Bounds, and the new book and everything. Like we just got to get. Yo, ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome Kendra Brim. Kendra Brim to the pod, man. What's up? What's up, Brim?
Hey, what's up?
Man, I'm so happy to have you on here.
I've never been introduced like that before. I feel like where's the intro? Like trophies.
Yeah, everybody loves it.
Listen, like it's only right, when you have talent such as this that graces the pod. Like you got to do right by him.
Absolutely,
So
I agree.
You got to do right by him. No, we appreciate you. But thanks for coming on to the pod today. So, Kendra, you are you're a phenomenal talent here in this. I think our city. Our area is really lucky to have somebody like you here, because you could be taking your talents to South Beach if you know what I mean?
I just said it earlier today. You never know.
Yeah, you never know. You never know. But, when you have good talent, I think we have an obligation to try to hold on to that talent as much as possible.
Absolutely.
Because I think that's going to be the thing that's going to continue to push our city forward. And so often, we see sometimes that, sometimes good talent, they leave and try to find, opportunities elsewhere. So when we have them here, we got to make sure that we're taking good care of them. And she's one of those ones, man. She is one of those people who's like really putting on for the city right now, doing a lot of incredible things. So, man, we're just really excited to have you on the podcast.
Yeah, Kendra, I never told you this, but I really do look up to you.
Oh,
I really do.
Give me some tissues. Okay.
No, you are dynamic, phenomenal. You do everything with class. You're about your business. I just really do. I really do. You do everything excellent.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah. And like I said, she's part of the family over here because we produced the Black Gems Dive In podcast. And y'all doing incredible things with that pod.
Yeah. And we were, can I say, like the flagship podcast in a way? I mean, I know you had your podcast. You had a podcast. And I remember just a little background about Black Gems Dive In. We started the podcast off of just literally conversations we were having on the back porch. So it was 2020. And it was on the brinks of George Floyd. You had a lot of just social, political unrest that was happening. And Kua and I were just having conversations on the back porch about, like, where do we go from here as leaders in the community? And so many people were rallying small little pods together, trying to figure out what's next. And then I remember we got on a phone call with Jamil. Jamil was like, y'all ever think about doing a podcast? We were like, no. And it literally started from that conversation, just like brainstorming. And here we are 4 years later, literally 4 years later, now here at Beverly Gray, and just having conversations like we're having conversations with friends, right?
Yeah.
And so things have changed quickly, obviously, in the DEI space, but we're so happy just to be here and even have the platform to talk about it.
Yeah, no, I mean, and I think that it's necessary to continue to have these conversations, right? Because we do see DEI is under attack right now, heavily under attack right now, and a lot of people are feeling as if like we kind of have to do away with it, but there's still a huge need for it because there's a lot of inequity that still exists, right? Absolutely. So let's kind of talk about that a little bit. Like, from your vantage point, like, why do you feel DEI is, there's been this onslaught of attacks, I mean, from like, you talk about people at the highest levels out here trying to like get rid of DEI, but also too, in addition to why do you feel that way, why do you feel like it's important that we actually continue to have these conversations?
Yeah, absolutely. I always say diversity, equity, inclusion was always something that existed from just forever, right? It was coined DEI years ago, but when you're actually looking at this work, this is something that's not new. You go back to, so I was a political science major in college, so I love just looking at politics and like how it all works.
That's interesting.
Yeah, poli-sci major with the African American Studies minor, but when you're looking at just the evolution of DEI, and then you look at a pivotal point of, was it 1964 Civil Rights Act, right? That's really where a lot of these DEI issues were coming up, right? Civil Rights Act, defending voting rights, all these different things. So when you're seeing attack on DEI, it's something that's not new. It's been happening for years. And every single time when you have a group of people keep pushing the needle forward, you're going to have that resistance coming back. So even though we're fighting in 2024 for DEI, again, it's not nothing new. The strategy may be new. Right? The strategy is definitely different, because before we were marching on the streets, right? We were working hand in hand with politicians, which we're still doing today. But the strategy is definitely changing. Now people are utilizing social media, right? Of how do we get people together and truly mobilize and really wrap our arms around this whole DEI issue that is coming up. You have people now, you're touching literally globally, so you can truly see how movements are changing around the globe. So the strategy is different, but DEI is still the same. And you're going to continue to get pushback every few years. This is just what happens. I was just having a conversation with my father actually this morning about just a lot of things that's happening politically. Now, I try to stay away from, as much as I like politics and poli-sci, right? Okay. But what's happening now sometimes, and we talk about this all the time, is to really make sure that you're protecting your mental. And what's going on in politics right now, and especially because I do a lot when it comes to with the Urban League and so many other organizations, I have to still protect my mental. So I don't tune in every single day, but I'll get like every couple of days, figure out what's going on. And I was telling my dad, I said, what we're seeing now in 2024 is not a response for 2020, from what happened in 2020. It's truly a response for when Barack Obama became president.
Oh, yes, 1,000%.
And so whatever happened, no matter if it was Barack Obama or another black man, black woman, this is a direct response to that. So, and this is just years in the making, right? And so we always have to we have to maintain a step ahead in everything that we're doing. But this pushback is going to keep happening. It's going to keep happening, and it's going to come in many forms in different ways.
How do we maintain that step ahead?
How do we maintain that step ahead? We have to come together as a group. Right, there's
and we say that a lot, that we need to come together. But
we do.
How can we truly make that happen though? Because I think oftentimes when people hear that, it's lip service, right? Yeah. And I think there are well-intended people out there who who really mean that and really would like to see that happen. Yeah. But for some reason, it just seems like that we just can't on one accord for some reason. I
would say the biggest thing right now, obviously, is from a political standpoint, right? If we can't come together as a political force, have one agenda, right? There's so many, again, different groups that are out here doing so many different things. But if we as a people can come together with one agenda, with specific points, and really work with our politicians in our own pockets, again, this is something that's not going to happen overnight, right? This is something that's going to, year after year, we have to keep working at it. But if we come together with, for example, a black agenda, then that is a way that we can really start to make movements and make waves. We also talk about people at the highest level, right? Politicians and people at the local level. But we need to come together and really support these folks that we want to see in power. A lot of times we see people at the highest level who are in power and positions of power because they have money, right? Let's face it, these politicians are not making a lot of money, but they have these positions of power because they have people who are supporting them. And then also, too, they have wealth from years and years ago. So how can we collectively put our dollars, our resources, our time, talent, treasures together to really support specific people that really can represent who we are as a nation at the highest level in Washington? Again, it's going to take years. It's something that's not going to happen overnight, but that's how we can truly come together from a political standpoint. Go ahead.
Okay, so I have a question.
Yes.
So a lot of our people, they're thinking about, I need to survive the next day.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
So for them, they're not thinking about no agenda that's going to take years, because I'm trying to figure out how to put food on the table tomorrow for my kids. Yep. So do you feel as if, and I don't want to separate us, but do you feel as if there are just a certain group of people within our community that should be doing this, or do you do you feel like there's another strategy to make sure that those people who need day by day things can still be a part of this movement?
It's the entire strategy. It's the one strategy. And so people who are, looking to figure out, do I look at childcare, or do I look at getting food on my table? Like, how do I figure out, I'm living paycheck to paycheck, and sometimes not even paycheck to paycheck. Right. How can we bring them onto this whole agenda? I always say, meet people where they are, right? And so if you are a local politician, or if you're looking to gain local support, you need to really be in these neighborhoods. You need to be at the food banks. You need to be at these organizations. You really need to understand who you're talking to in your constituency. A lot of times that doesn't happen, right? We utilize social media, and let's just face it, right? There's a huge political a huge digital divide, right, in our communities. So there are pockets in our communities across America that's not getting those social media flyers, or say, come to this meeting or come to that meeting. We need to meet people where they are and understand that this is a fight for all of us. And then also to bring those resources to the table, right? And so it's not separate agendas. It is one main agenda. I was just in D.C. for the Legislative Policy Conference that was through the Urban League, and a couple of things, and not to make this a whole political conversation, but one thing that people were saying, for example, is, you have those cynics, right? People who are like, maybe I should vote, maybe I shouldn't vote. And how do you get at that group of people? And those groups of people are from the age 19 to what they say about 45, which is a huge group. And this is a poll of Black voters. And they say, for example, and this was a direct quote from one of the studies, they said, my hood didn't get better. It didn't get better under Biden and didn't get worse under Trump. So who cares? And that's a reality. Right, that is a reality.
That's a lot of people's reality.
That's a lot of people's reality,
right? And it's true, and we see now, which is, I think is wild to me, that there's this huge swelling of people who are out here in favor of Trump getting reelected.
Yes, absolutely. What I mean? And in the power of AI, I was just reading an article where Trump had a bunch of Black women behind him.
Oh yeah, I saw
it. It's an AI picture.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? So it's hard to figure out which you can trust and which you can't.
It looked like AI, but I'm like,
but if you don't know, you don't know.
Yeah,
right?
You don't know. Yeah, some people just like, oh my God, Trump with all of the, but
right.
No, it was, but you're absolutely
it's
right.
True, and you have those people say, my hood didn't get any worse under Trump, and guess what? I got my checks under Trump too.
Yeah, and that's what I'm hearing a lot of people. Especially influential people too. Yes. A lot of entertainers. There's one person in particular who was just like, she got her PPP or something like that. You know what I mean? And I'm just like.
Right, but we have to. Wow. But for people,
you gotta be a little bit more savvy.
Exactly, we have to be savvy in the messaging, right? Yeah. So for people like that, we don't approach them to say, yeah, but guess what? Let me tell you what Biden, and this is his 5-point plan, and he talked about student loans, and he talked about this, and he talked about that. No, you have to listen to those folks, and then also to really get at what do they truly care about, right? What really will make their lives better, right? And so when you have those conversations where you're talking to people, breaking bread with each other, you're really now starting to have connections with folks and really understand, hey, no matter what side of the political fence you're on, right, really understand why you're truly voting for somebody, right? Is it because they got sneakers that's coming out, or is it because they're visiting an abortion clinic, right? On both, you know what I mean? A lot of it is sound bites, a lot of it is visuals, right? But you really have to get it at the reason why people are voting. But back to the original point about people who are literally trying to figure out just day-to-day life decisions, right? Again, politics doesn't start at the top level. It starts right at the bottom.
Everything is hyper-local.
It's hyper-local. Yeah. So if you're not getting involved in school board elections, in the city of Buffalo, last school board elections was around, I think 3% of voters came out, or a little less than that. Wow. Those are the people who are literally helping educate our babies. Right? really trying to figure out, they're the decision makers, right? So show up to the school board elections, show up to your local elections for county legislator, show up to your local elections about mayor, right? Because it starts there, because these are the people who are also, they roll right up to DC.
Right. I mean, but like how we make that sexy though, right? Because you know, local elections, local politics, it's just not sexy. Right. So how do we make that sexy enough that to get people truly engaged?
And so, level? And this is another thing. I'm a huge supporter of our youth. Our youth will tell you what our future is supposed to be and what they want. Right. So going back to DC, there was a program that was happening for youth, and they were educating them about voter rights and you know what's next for them once they turn 18. They made it into a party, a sports party. So they had balloons with arches at the front. They had food. They had a DJ. They had trivia about voting. They gave out prizes. They made it so that, hey, this is fun, and I learned about what my voting rights are and what I should be also talking about in terms of issues that concern me and my friends, right? They made it sexy to them. So you have to go to different groups and really figure out what truly makes people excited about voting. I say there's so many missed opportunities, right? There is, there was an event that was locally that I was thinking about, not going to say what the event is, but I feel like it was a missed opportunity because, and it was not a political event, but talking about, are you registered to vote? What does it take to register to vote? What does it look like? We should not be having these conversations when it comes to voting time, because now people feel like they're getting shoved down their throat. It should be a natural conversation, and conversations that are happening in these smaller pods, and as well as events that are taking place. There's so many events that I'm a part of here in Buffalo that could be talking about just what voting is and your right to vote. Now, let me just face it. As Black people, we should be voting. Absolutely. I'm just putting it out there.
Yeah.
I'm just putting it out there.
I mean, and it kills me sometimes to hear people, when people say that they are sitting out elections and voting doesn't matter. Yeah. You know, and I tell people all the time, if voting didn't matter, they wouldn't try so hard to strip you away from your right from it.
Exactly. It matters. It matters. And so, you know, you think about, and this is why it's so important for history. Why do you think that there are politicians, specifically even in Florida in the South, trying to rip away our history from the textbooks, from the classrooms, because they don't want us to know what we endured to get to this point. I mean, we have, and I speak from a personal perspective, I have family members who literally stood in line in the South who could not vote, right? Who did the jelly bean test, trying to figure out how many jelly beans are in the jar. In order to vote. There was if anybody doesn't know, they had different tests right down in the South, and this is 40s, 50s, and 60s where you had a jar of jelly beans. This is just one of the tests. You had a jar of jelly beans. So if I had a jar and I just filled it with jelly beans, I had to guess how many exact jelly beans were in that jar.
I wonder if anybody ever got that right.
In order to vote. Right? And these are people who are not far removed from, this is my grandmother, not far removed from our generation, right? Some of the things that they had to go through. So this is why, back to Jamil, your point of they want to strip away voting rights. They want to strip away history from the textbooks and the classrooms because they don't want to know where you came from, because they're like, oh yeah, you know, I don't want them to vote. I don't want them to know. But you need to understand your history and do your own research.
Yeah. I saw something today, which is interesting that you guys brought up the whole PPP thing and how Trump was paying, because I saw something where Biden is trying to give a mortgage credit.
I saw that too.
Sign me up. Sign me up.
Is this his response to what Trump was doing?
President Biden, I need it.
Yeah. So I was like, that's interesting.
Extra $400 a month towards your mortgage.
Towards your mortgage.
So what I got to do to qualify?
Vote.
Oh, that's right. I got that. Yeah, I'll put the lawn sign out for him and everything.
But I thought that was interesting, because I wonder if that's something that they noticed Trump did and he's trying to do. But that's all right. What I wanted to ask you, and this could be the last question of DEI before we get into other stuff. Sure. What do you think is going to happen if they actually succeed with taking DEI completely out of the organizations and companies here?
So what people don't realize is that, let me take a step back. I feel like in the past couple of years, because the language of diversity, equity, and inclusion has been co-opted in many ways, in many forms, people see DEI as equating to Black. DEI equating to critical race theory. They don't have, the people who are stripping it away, they don't actually have a clear understanding of what DEI is. right? And so people don't realize if you strip away DEI, you strip away not just the rights of Black people, you're stripping away the rights of our LGBTQ plus community, you're stripping away the rights of our disabled community, you're stripping away the rights of women, right? There's so many things that play into DEI that people don't realize. I mean, a lot of people, when you go into a job, right, and people are like, what? One of the first questions that you ask after you get hired or even before you get hired, what does the benefits look like? Right? And a lot of women nowadays want to know, what does your fertility benefits look like, right? That's a component of DEI. So if you're stripping away all these different things, then what's left? You have the people who have the power and the privilege. They are left to their own devices, who will then be able to control what you have going on in your lives. So if you are, people don't realize they have this crab in the bucket mentality, right? And so it's like, you strip that away, we all losing.
Right.
We're all losing, period. Even the people who have privilege and power, we're all losing.
It kind of sounds like people need to be educated more about what DEI is.
Yes, and also to not to be afraid to be educated, because when back in 2020 and even before this, when I started doing a lot of DEI work and doing many just different conversations and trainings, people wanted the surface level, right? Let me know what the definitions of DEI is and what does allyship look like, right? But as you start to move into deeper conversations, it's like, and I always say this, even with allyship, I don't need you to be an ally. I need you to be an accomplice. I need you to roll up your sleeves, get your hands dirty, get in this work with me. But what does that mean? Owning your power and privilege. When it comes to many different things, and people are afraid of those terms. I've been in so many circles and so many organizations, whether I did consulting or worked for, where you could not use the words power and privilege. It was offensive, right? Or it was not even, it was offensive to them, but in reality what it was, oh, I'm looking at myself in the mirror and I don't want to do that, right? And so people have to get real educated about what it truly means when it comes to DEI, and what it truly means to do this work. Again, I always say this is a journey without a destination. And it's going to continue to be a journey without a destination. But if you don't continue to fight for it, this whole country is losing.
But do you feel like people connect DEI with Black because it kind of rose from the whole 2020 eruption? Like, do you think that's why people,
Absolutely. And so when I do trainings, when it comes to DEI, a lot of times I don't even talk about Black people. Because I need people, and I have to survey the audience to see who's there, because I need it to hit home for them. Right. I need it to hit home, and I need you to understand, like, how does this affect me personally? Because a lot of times when I'm doing work in DEI, I go to an organization or business, they're just checking the box, right? And they're just like, I did the training, I did what I needed to do, right? And there are some companies who are really like, no, I need this to be truly embedded into what I'm doing day in and day out. But you really have to look at your organization and look within you as to why does this matter for me? Right? Not to this organization, but for me. And a lot of times, even if you're, say, for example, a white male, you can still relate to it, because I'm pretty sure you have a mother, a sister, a neighbor, a grandmother, whoever, a friend who is directly affected by all this.
I think it's a lot of willful ignorance when it comes to this stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's good.
And people... I think people know. I think, at the core, people, know. They know. There's real issues out here, but they know people on the other side, people of color, know that there's a tanning of America that's taking place right now. Right? And at some point in the very near future, they are going to become the minority in this company.
Absolutely.
And when you become the minority, like you said, it's about that P word that you just said. It's about power, right? And once you lose that power,
I know.
It's scary.
You're not the light on the hill anymore.
Exactly.
So, but we could talk about this for days, man. Yeah.
Let's go ahead and move it.
It got a little heavy in here.
I feel like Sojourner Truth up here.
And this is sidebar. I kind of see politics in your future.
I wanted to say that, but then she said politics. Her mental, so I get it.
No. I mean, that's because she's still, she's still young. You know what I mean? So, you got to protect your mental when you're young. But when you get older, when you don't give a F anymore, you know what I mean? Like,
so Kendra just got to get there.
She's got to get to that when you don't give a F anymore. You know what I mean? So
I don't know. Maybe adjacent.
Yeah.
Not politics adjacent.
Yeah, but let's switch gears for a minute because as I mentioned earlier when I was introducing you, you recently became an author, right? Come on, six-figure athlete, man. That is amazing. So I want you to kind of talk about like just your own journey, right? When it comes to this, when it comes to you becoming, I don't want to put you because Kendra one of my rich friends. You're one of my rich friends right here.
All the time.
Yo, she gets rubbed off on me.
I don't know. You can't catch her shoes right now, but bro, matter of fact, go on camera 4, man. Go on camera 4. Like, you can see, you can see,
got chains on them,
Yeah. She and those real gold chains on them.
Nah.
Cuban links out here. You know what I mean? But you've done well for yourself. You've done really well for yourself. But this talk about just your journey of becoming an athlete and like kind of how that led you to actually writing and co-authoring this book.
Like where to start?
Like where to start? So I co-authored a book called Six Figure Athlete, and it talks about strategies for high performers. This whole journey about how the book even came about. It was in the middle of the pandemic, and everyone's on social media, and I was able to connect with former student athletes, as well as one of my friends from Colgate. So I went to Colgate University, played basketball, which I'll talk about in a minute. But I was able to connect with one of my former classmates, not even a teammate, and then some student athletes that I knew and that she knew. And we got together, and it was a publisher who said, hey, who was also another student athlete, and he said, have you guys ever thought about like co-authoring a book together? We were talking about all these strategies and what's going on. And, he's like, this is a perfect time to just like start writing your story. And he's like, everybody gets a chapter and you write about what's unique to you. And I'm like, yeah, all these books have always existed about what it means, the lessons learned about being a student athlete. And so the way that I took the approach for specifically my chapter was talking about out of bounds. And out of bounds really is the concept is what happens when the lights go dim. So when you're playing basketball, the lights go dim, it's an empty gym. When the lights go dim, you step out of bounds and you have no conventional boundaries. What happens? And so I've been asking myself this question for years. So let me just take you a step back. And I read about this a little bit in the chapter of my book. So I started playing basketball when I was 6. And if you're from Buffalo, you know about Gloria J. Parks, which is on Main Street. I went there for after school programming. And I remember they always used to separate the girls and the boys. The girls would go to art class and dance, and the boys would play in the gym. And I'm like, that's not fair. Like, I want to go to the gym too. That's not, So I remember sneaking off to the gym, and one day, my dad came to try to find me after school, and I wasn't in the classroom. Oh. And so they found me in the gym with the boys playing basketball. And first of all, my dad didn't cuss me out, but he basically cussed me out through his eyes. It was one of those. So my dad doesn't swear, but it was one of those. I was like, man, I'm about to get in trouble. But instead, what he did was he sat me down in the gym, an empty gym, and he said, why do you want to play basketball? I heard that you're always up here. Why do you want to play basketball? I'm like, it looks fun, And at the time, I'm sitting down, but people don't know, I'm 6 feet tall now, and I was always tall.
Excuse me, how old were you back then when you said?
6.
You were 6.
I was 6 years old. Okay. And my dad said to me, why do you want to play basketball? And I said, it's fun. He said, you're not playing basketball. And I said, why not? He said, and this is when I was 6 years old. He said, it's not about the game of ball. He said, mentally, it is tough. And my dad played basketball. He ran track. My dad was also a bodybuilder back in the day, so he was a athlete. My older brother at the time was in the military, but he also played basketball too, so he was an athlete. So they understood what it took to get to like another level. And my dad at the time didn't think about it, just wanted to play for fun. He was like, no, if you're going to do this, you're going to do this. And at the time I was didn't play basketball. I was a dancer, and then I also too played piano. So I danced for 12 years. I played for piano for 12 years, which a lot of people don't know either. So yes.
Wait, yes. You play piano too?
Yes, piano and tap.
Yeah. Yes.
Why am I just now finding out this, Aviance?
We're having a family conversation.
Why am I just now finding out about
because
this?
Because we need to pod after the pod.
Oh my God.
Yes. So I danced at Clark Academy. Shout out to Matthew Clark, who was one of my cousins. Of course, Buffalo's my cousin. But
your whole of Buffalo is your cousin.
So was at Clark Academy, did piano at community music school, and I remember I got to a point where I was around like maybe 11 or 12. And I was still playing basketball. I did a whole bunch of other sports too. And my dad was like, you got to choose. Like, we spread ourselves thin. Like, my brother was playing football. He was also doing basketball. You got to choose. So I was like, I'm doing basketball. So I quit everything else. And my dad is one of those who give you tough love. He's like, all right, if you're going to do this and you're quitting everything else, you're going to do this full-fledged. And so at 12 years old, that's when I went into high school at 12, which is crazy to say. I went to high school at 12, graduated high school at 16, and then went into college at 16. But during that time, I mean, people don't realize what it truly takes to be a Division I athlete. I got up every morning, 5 a.m., shooting literally almost thousands of basketballs per morning, lifting weights, going to the best coaches. Shout out to my parents, and I said this too on Saturday. Shout out to my parents because, you know, my parents, they definitely, you know, they did their thing, like driving me everywhere. They had that tough love, but they're like, you're going to do this. So, you know, end up graduating, and when I graduated to go to college, I had 19 Division I scholarships at the time. So literally had 19 papers spread out.
I said she's a Hall of Famer. I said she's a Hall of Famer.
And what? Yes, and had 19 scholarships. And so I went to Colgate University, which is about 3 hours from here, and it's a lower Division I school. But the reason why I chose that was because I knew that at the time, even back then, and this was 2007, which wasn't that long ago, but there weren't really many options for women playing basketball after college. Like, you had the WNBA, but it really wasn't as lucrative and as sexy as it is now. Like, where it is now, I mean, you got the Caitlin Clarks, the Angel Reese's, you got NIL deals, all these different things. And that wasn't in the cards for me. So I'm like, okay, let me figure out, do I want to do a high basketball school with, not saying lower academics, where academics wasn't as important, or do I want the academics over the basketball? And so I chose a school that was really good at academics, but that also comes with a cost, right? So Colgate University is a PWI, predominantly white institution. At the time, we only had 4% black students there, 4%. And that was tough. And I keep saying that all of this has set me up.
I had no black student union or nothing.
We had a black student union. I was the secretary of my black student union.
It was all four of y'all. All four of y'all.
It was us, and we had the basketball team, the football team. You know what I mean? But no, we had a good group. I will say this. Listen, we brought Wale when he first came out. We brought out Fabulous. We brought out DJ Drama. We had parties.
Okay.
I actually like Colgate. That was one of the schools I wanted to go to.
Yeah, the little school on the hill.
Yeah, definitely on the hill. I don't know how y'all doing in that winter.
I actually had a teammate who tore her ACL.
Yeah,
sliding down a hill. Yeah, it was crazy.
Insane up there.
But now they have heated walkways, which
Oh, that's interesting.
They got money in private school.
They got money. So, but yeah, when I went there, I was the second. Well, so when I was a freshman, there was one of my teammates was a black student athlete as well. She was a senior. When she graduated, I was on the team by myself as the only person of color, and that was extremely difficult. And I talk about this all the time. The amount of just discrimination and racism that I faced during that time was extremely tough for me. And now, granted, I had my teammates, I had, my tribe outside of sports who I also connected with very closely. But it was a very tough, challenging time. When I was a sophomore, Barack Obama was elected. So this is where the full circle comes, right? Barack Obama was elected in 2008, and this is a very public thing. But at the time, there was people who came through our dorm, came through some of the classrooms, writing the N-word on the walls, saying the White House is a White House for a reason, lynch all the black people.
Damn,
like, this is stuff that happened. This is stuff that happened on campus. We were escorted by police officers, state troopers to classes the next day. And again, this is going back to what I was saying with DEI, how there's always going to be some resistance and people don't want change. This is one of those pivotal moments. And so, after all of that happened, still going through a lot of different things. And I remember my mom back then saying, Kendra, there's power in the pen. And I was like, oh, whatever. I just want to get out of here, like, whatever. And she's like, no, there's power in the pen. And so I wrote a letter to, at the time, the athletic director. I wrote a letter to NCAA and other folks as well about just my experiences that I had while at Colgate and under my coach. And after that, the coach could no longer coach NCAA basketball again. She's a lawyer. My mom said she's coming after you. But
power in the pen.
Power in the pen, right? Power in the pen. And so that was, for me, a very pivotal moment. And like I said, you never realize where, like, little, small sound bites in your life may come full circle later on. And the fact that now I'm in DEI work, that's not an accident, right? Yeah. Another pivotal moment for me is when I was able to go to Australia. I lived in Australia for 3 months, and I lived with the indigenous people of Australia, and Western Australia specifically. So not Sydney, but Western Australia, what people tend to say like the forgotten side.
The kangaroos.
What'd you say?
With the kangaroos.
With the kangaroos. I ate kangaroo. It was good. It was good. Yeah. But I was in the bush with the dingo and everything else. Yeah. It's a whole nother story.
Hard no for me, dog. Hard pass.
But I was able to see how community and culture connects and how people connect with each other and what it means to be just a family and understanding the rights of the indigenous people over there. They didn't become citizens till 1974, right? And so we have very similarities here as they did in Australia. And so a lot of that work also too attributed to where I am today. And then when I got out of Australia, went to grad school and had some challenges there trying to get into grad school, which I talk about in my book, so you got to get the chapter. But that really, a lot of those different things that I learned, I learned adversity, I learned resilience, I learned what it means to really help out community and link that back to culture and what that looks like. So I keep saying, like, all these little things that happened in my life helped me write my story to where I am today, and it's not ending, right? There's still, like, when I wrote that chapter in the book, it was 2021, and I'm like, man, I got a whole book next. Like, that's literally, I'm in the process of writing the next chapter, in the next book, I should say, because there's so much that I want to say, but you just never know, you're always going to continue to write your story.
Yeah. That's a fact.
Yeah. That's amazing. Yeah. One of the things you talk about, when you think about the concept of out of bounds, right? And you think about like that kind of life, like once the lights go dim, we see this happen with athletes often, right? Where I don't think they truly prepare themselves for the life after, right? And we often see athletes going broke. Yep. Athletes going back to the streets. I mean, we've seen countless examples of superstar athletes at one time in their prime who, they're like literally in the streets.
Literally begging
in the streets, right? You know what I mean? So what are some of the things that athletes need to start to do now, right? Because I think that it's shifting a bit, especially with with the advancements of media and like people, and like now like college athletes can be paid now, which I've always been super anti-NCAA, right? Because I felt like that was like exploitation at the highest level. That was pure robbery, right? So, but now, things are starting to shift a little bit, but I think there are opportunities that exist for people, especially athletes, to be able to get the tools and resources that they need so they can have long-term sustainability after the lights go down.
Absolutely.
Talk about that a little bit.
There's to your point, right? Social media has a chokehold on so many young athletes at this point because you can put together a highlight reel, you could put together a TikTok video. Back when I was playing, we literally had the camcorder, and they had to put the tape, right.
You got to carry the joint on your shoulder.
With the cord on the right.
Put a tape in the joint.
Literally the tape, and then convert it to a CD and send it off. Like that is, I'm from that era.
I still got some of those tapes too.
I do too.
I got some.
It is not that long ago, though, but the advancement of technology has allowed for people to put together a quick media soundbite and then send it off, right? And then also, too, you see the LeBron James, you see the Steph Currys, and you see, even from the Windman side, the Candace Parker, the Wilsons, all of them, right? You see the end result, but you don't see the hard work that they're putting in and day out, right? That Mamba mentality. You don't see that. And so a lot of kids just want to get the end result without actually putting in the work. But also, too, what I say is you can run two parallel paths. You can run the path of academics and athletics at the same time. I give this quick story really quickly of my brother. My younger brother, he played football throughout his whole life, ended up going to UB, University of Buffalo, and then playing for the Bills. But while he was at the Buffalo Bills, and then when he was at UB, he majored in electrical engineering. So he was able to run those two paths because when his light went dim with the Buffalo Bills, he was able to be an electrical engineer. And now he gives back to the community by training them, but also saying, you can be me too. right? And so you can run these parallel paths. Also, too, getting into sports, you don't necessarily have to be the person on the court or on the field. You can be an accountant. You could be a statistician. Those are people making money. Yeah. You could be an agent. You can be, there's so many things. Literally, think about the production of sports day, right? And not just saying the actual day, but what's leading up to that, what's supporting these infrastructures and these systems. You can be that person in the office, right?
Get money without getting hurt.
So exactly, making money without getting hurt. And there's longevity and sustainability in that too, right? Yeah. And so there's so much more that you can do without necessarily being within those four boundaries, those four lines. And so you have to think about that. You can run two parallel paths without saying that athletics is my end-all, be-all. Because once you fall from grace, it's going to take a long time to come back, right? Because it's literally it's a psychological thing. It's literally adrenaline, right? So, like, I think about myself. I was on this adrenaline rush for 10-plus years, right? Because you're competing for the next game. You're competing in the weight room. You're literally, your whole life is competition. Right, and then, bam, you lose a game your senior year, you're done. You're not going to the WNBA, you're not going to the NBA, NFL, whatever the case may be. That adrenaline rush is gone, so now what's next? You're literally, like, falling off of a cliff, it feels like. So what support can you put in place in order to help when that comes to that sustainability and longevity and for you to be an effective citizen? Like, you know, so you don't have to be the Delonte West of the world and be on the streets. You know what I mean?
And it's just sad to seeing brothers like that, man, who, you know, that promise. I mean, you talk about talent at the highest level.
It's talent, you know? So, you know, with the spinoff of Out of Bounds, too, and I see so many student athletes kind of falling into this, I call it, trap of social media NIL deals. The spinoff of Out of Bounds chapter, and I call it a blog because it started with the blog of me just releasing from blog to book to business, is really me stepping in and really helping be what I call myself a next talent solutions coach. So like or next play solutions coach, what is next, right? And so helping people, connect them with former student athletes, connect them with alumni, doing workshops on this, you know, having these type of engagements because I'm a living testimony. I've been through so much when it comes to playing sports, but there is life after sports and you can still love it. You can still be a part of it. I became a coach. I'm mentoring. There's so much that you can do. And you can build on some of these lessons learned from, like I said, just being resilient in adversity. Those are the two biggest things. You're going to face adversity in the real world. And so how do you face that head on without falling down?
Yeah. You know? So for our listeners that's hearing your story and you just have so much experience with a lot of things, you've also managed to have all these businesses.
Yes.
Kendra.
Yes.
So why don't you speak a little bit about the businesses that you created well in the midst of all of this?
Yes. So the Out of Bounds business is a spinoff of the book. And there's so much more to come. Like I could just envision it, and I have like so many business plans that I'm refining, but Out of Bounds. And then also, too, I still have K Savannah Consulting, which is a DEI firm that focuses on strategy for organizations and businesses, which does a lot of things when it comes to community engagement, when it looks at strategic plans, trainings. So I still have that business. It's been going 4 years strong. So I'm managing those two businesses while also, too, doing the podcast with Kua, Black Gems Dive In. And so there's just so many great opportunities that are coming my way. But I say this all the time, like, this is something that did not happen overnight. Right. This is something that's been years and years and years in making. You guys know, like, you know, the late nights, literally the blood, sweat, and tears, and then also questioning yourself to say, like, am I worth it? You know, can I do
that?
That
imposter syndrome is real.
Syndrome. We could do a whole episode on that.
That's a whole nother podcast.
That's a whole nother podcast to say, you know, am I giving enough value to my customer, right? Am I adding value to their life? You know, so all of those different things, but managing that business side, and then also too, like, just making sure that your physical, emotional health is where it needs to be to sustain all of this as well. So that's kind of the space.
Speaking of the physical, man, yo, the journey that you've been on over the past, I mean, for a long time, but like literally like the past year or so. I mean, we've seen a complete transformation of Kendra, man. I mean,
been getting it
yo, this is the new Slim Thug right here. This the new Slim Thug right here. You know, like, I mean, she just, it's really been inspiring to watch.
Yeah.
It really has been.
I tapped into my student athlete bag. That's what it was. That's what it was. My body was literally breaking down in front of me. I'm like, if I'm going to be the person that I want to be, I have to make sure that the physical matches, number one, because I always say your image is your brand.
I'm gonna go work out tonight. I'm sorry. Image is your brand. But go ahead.
Yeah. Image is your brand. But also, too, like, you know, you want to be able to feel healthy and be able to sustain what you have going on. Because if you're sleeping all the time, if you're tired, you got to be like, well, why? Like, granted, yes, you're going to be tired and sleepy. But, like, if you continue to just be healthy for yourself, you could be of value to so much more.
Yeah, that's amazing. Just listening to you speak, you know, especially around the athletics part, and speaking about athletes, you know what you kind of remind me of? You kind of remind me of Rich Paul.
Yeah.
Right? You know, Rich Paul is his agent, in case you didn't know, and for the people who out here who don't know, he's an amazing sports agent, you know, one of LeBron's guys. And but Rich, he's really about like the whole person, you know what I mean? Not just the athlete themselves, but like really truly investing in the whole person.
You have to.
Right? Do you ever see like being an agent in your future?
I thought about it. I have thought about it. You never know. Like, I've thought about it plenty of times for sure. So I don't know. I may pop up next year and be on the pod. I got Kendra Brim agency over here. You never know. I've thought about it. I definitely have. But, you know, back to your point where you're saying, Jamil, like, you have to be solid. You have to have a solid foundation. You have to continue to work on you. Like, therapy is key. Like, therapy and Jesus. I always say those two together. But yeah, I've really been on this like transformational journey in the past like year to 2 years. Is scary, but it's also exciting at the same time. So you never know what's next.
Do you speak, Kendra?
Yeah, she speaks. Yeah.
Okay,
I do speak.
Yeah, she
like
speak.
About your journey and everything like that. Like you speak.
Yeah, I do.
You can
not
book
yet.
on the website and book.
Well, I speak about I do speaking engagements, but not about like the transformational journey. No, you know, my mind is always, you know, I got a business idea on that. You know.
But I mean, because, you know, and to her point though, like people, they want like real examples, people who look like them, people who come from the same places that they come from, people who have these struggles. It's just like, damn, how can I navigate this struggle and this challenge that I'm in, this challenge season that I'm in right now? But they need inspirations like you to be able to see this stuff that they can't do it.
A dead weight. That was the first thing.
I mean, we've been here for under an hour, right? And right now, I can hear you speak about the transition of your physical journey to get your body better, being an athlete while being a student at the same time, and also dealing with racism and everything like that. Like you have
multifaceted, man.
You have a lot. That's heavy stuff right there that you can hit with.
Yeah, absolutely.
Just saying.
You know, I'm gonna give y'all credit when I pop up.
After credit, I'm trying to be a part of the journey. So if we got to talk offline about how we need to like get this personal brand popping for you,
I know,
you know,
I know. I have to brand myself.
You know, it's crazy because I was on your website, the K Savannah consulting website, and as I'm on there looking at it, I'm just like. Cause I try to do my research on people. Even though I know you, I know you, but I still try to be well prepared. But as I'm looking on the website, I'm like, this needs to be like a KendraBrim.com.
Yes.
Yeah.
So
this needs to be KendraBrim.com, and then you have all of the.
I will say I bought my domain last year.
Yeah, everybody should buy their domain. By the way,
your name domain. Yes,
everybody should do that. Namechecker.com. If y'all need to know where if the domain is taken or not, but please buy your domain.
I did that last year, so it's coming. It's the website 2.0.
Okay,
so I may have to tap into your services.
Come on, man. Let's do it. Let's make it happen. So we're gonna wrap up in a second, but one of the things that. I wanted to wrap up by kind of talking about the book a little bit as well. One of the things that's a theme throughout the book is this idea around trusting the process.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
So can you kind of speak to that? What does that mean to you, and how it's been instrumental in you kind of getting to where you are right now?
Yeah, trust the process. I mean, the process for anybody could be a month, 2 months, a year, 2 years. Right. The process is going to be ongoing. And so for me, when it comes to trusting the process, it also starts with trusting yourself because you're part of the process. You have to trust yourself. If you have a goal, if you have a vision, God gave you that vision and goals for a reason. Mm-hmm. So you have to trust yourself, number one. And then also to bring people on board to kind of help you with that process, right? So no matter if it's a friend, a coach, whatever the case may be, and I joke around, but literally, like, you have to get rid of dead weight, whether that is physical, whether that is the people around you.
I feel attacked.
Right? But like, you have to get rid of dead weight because it literally brings you down. And once you can start doing that, and again, putting in just different goals. I read this, it's a book that is well known, Atomic Habits, right? And so how do you continue to build upon habits, right? One thing after another, whether it's for me, walking the dog, like for me, I set out goals, right? And it's for me, it's pray daily and never lose yourself. And so when I'm walking Mellow, I love Mellow, my little dog. But I'm walking Mellow, that's where I pray. I pray every morning when I'm walking him, right? So that habit building, right? Yeah. But trusting the process for you, it's being intentional every single day. And one of the things that my trainer, Gene, shout out to Gene Tino, he says every day is consistency is key. That's the other part. So you got to stay consistent. And when you don't see the results ASAP, right, you didn't get to where you are within a couple of weeks or a month or two, right? So it's going to take you a longer time to go to where you need to be. So, take some time to constantly just reevaluate the process, what it looks like for you, but you got to continue to trust it. And again, one of those things, it's a journey without a destination. So when it comes to even me with my health and wealth, like, it's going to continue to build, right? And it's never an ending point.
Man, you dropped so many gems right now. Black gems, that's what y'all do. I'm gonna actually steal something from you right now, that y'all do on y'all podcast. At the end of the Black Gems podcast, they talk about the gem of the day. So I want you to give people right now a gem. Give the gem of the day that people can walk away with.
So I said this on our podcast a few weeks ago, but I'm gonna bring it back up because it's so loud and I can hear it every day. And no matter what you believe in, right? For me, I believe in the Most High and God. God will give you what your heart desires and what you pray for. He just won't tell you what form it's gonna come in. And so you have to be prepared for that. I've had so many different transitions in my life, things that the end result is what I prayed for, right? But how did I get there? God was giving it to me, but it's not in the form that I wanted it, right? And so there was a lot of me resisting that, like, not right now. What does that look like? Whatever, right? And so if I stay true to my values of, number one, praying every day and really meditating and sitting in that, God is going to give you what you want, but he's not going to tell you when it's going to come, what form it's going to come in. And I have to really trust in that, trust the process and what that looks like. So if anyone's on a transformational journey, just really, again, make sure that, you're really sitting with yourself and your goals. And then just trust yourself. That's all I can say is just really trust yourself. I've been on this crazy journey for the past year and 2 years, and I never thought in a million years I would be here. But again, it's what I prayed for. So.
That's so good. That reminds me of someone that said the example that they give was, if you ask God for a chair, he's probably going to give you wood.
Yeah.
So it's not in the form that you asked for, but what you need to get what you want.
It's what you need.
It's right there.
It's right there. Yeah. It's right there, right?
Yeah.
So we just have to continue to trust the process.
Come on. I love it. Kendra, this has been great. This has been an amazing awesome, conversation. Man, y'all gotta stop playing, man, and come back on the pod again. I mean, y'all literally shoot y'all pod from the same place that we shooting right now.
I'm sitting right. See my
you sitting right here, yeah. But Kendra, if people wanted to connect with you, if people wanted to get the book, they wanted to book a consulting, a consultation with you, they wanted to book you for a speaking engagement, like, how can people connect with you?
Yes, I would say the easiest way, and it's really simple, just to go online, www.ksavannahconsulting.com. That's KSAVANNAH consulting.com. That's the easiest way. Fill out a form, and I will get in touch with you.
Yeah, love it. Kendra, thank you so much. This has been great. Yeah, definitely got to have you back on again. We're gonna have some cross promotional things. We got to do a Black Gems, We Are the Ones collaboration.
That would be nice.
Yeah, we got to do that.
Live, though.
Yeah, live. It got to be live. See the like the way the mind works, baby. Let's go. Yeah, live podcast. Listen, I already got
sit up straight.
Because now you got my head going now.
I was about to say, Kendra.
Yeah, you got my mind going right now.
Earlier.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
goodness gracious. Boss man, you know what that means for us.
Yeah, get to work. Let's get to work. But no, that's we definitely got to make that happen. We're gonna make that happen for sure. So. Thank you guys for tuning in. Another episode of We Are the Ones podcast. This is another one in the books. This was a great episode today. Make sure y'all follow us across all streaming platforms. We're on Apple Podcasts. Anywhere you listen to your favorite podcast, we are there. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe on YouTube and follow us across all social media platforms at We Are the Ones podcast.
And remember, keep winning on purpose because you are the one we have been waiting for.